Hello again. For the first time seeing me with glasses. I'm sure people can get used to that on YouTube. It's not that much of an appearance. Apologies for the hair. I haven't just gone out of bed, although wasn't that long ago. Here today to just have a quick look over the football, looking over the predictions for the last 16, see how well we did, have a quick look at those games, have a bit more of a look into the England team and potentially a few predictions going into the quarter-final stage as things are getting a lot hotter now. We're getting to crunch time, as it were, or whatever those other phrases are. This is where you separate the meh teams from the these are quite good teams. So let's just have a quick go over the games. I'll try and do them in order. So the first day of the last 16 rounds, we had Switzerland against Italy and Germany against Denmark. And unfortunately, Switzerland-Italy is one of the first predictions that I got wrong here. It's only one of two, to my defence. I suppose this one was always going to be one of the closest ones, and I potentially backed Italy over reputation and being the current holders. However, Switzerland have been playing the better football this tournament, and it clearly showed. I think Italy going into this game missed Calafiori, who's one of their star defenders from Bologna, and it's the rest of the team just didn't seem to quite get a hold of the game, whether it's down to tactics or just having a bit more confidence and belief. But the Switzerland team definitely has both of those things, and so it became rather routine for them. And so, speaking of routine, you can get on to the Germany and Denmark game. Although this obviously does seem as such the 2-0 win, obviously there were VAR calls in this, which another day Denmark could have nicked a goal at the start, but unfortunately obviously not the case, and so Germany unsurprisingly went through. And then the next day of fixtures is the England-Slovakia game, which I will go into more depth over in a bit. So I'm going to just leave that behind for the moment and just continue through the rest of the games, and then I'll do everything again. So, Spain-Georgia, although it looked lively for the first 15-20 minutes, Georgia counter-attacking very successfully, managing to nick the goal. Spain's quality it just showed from Rodri's understanding of space for his first goal, and just the quality of the wingers in Yamal and Williams down the side, natural conventional wingers that just speed, technical ability, skill, it's ridiculous really. And so this is a team that everyone really should be fearing, but you can argue there's a weaker opposition against Georgia. However, you still got to go out and do the job, and they've done the job. So the next day's fixtures, we've got France against Belgium and Portugal against Slovenia. The France-Belgium game took a while to get going, eventually being decided by the own goal. However, this game's a lot closer than I originally thought it was going to be. I thought France would storm away with this. However, Belgium, they did create chances in the first half. Jeremy Doku in particular looked like he had the beating of his man a lot of the time, and they just couldn't. Maybe it's just that final pass, that final shot to get the chance. They didn't take it, and this French team is just grinding out results. They may be one of the favourites still, but they have not looked very exciting or very interested just yet. But with the quality there, you know that they can just turn it on whenever they want. When they need to, they will step up. So I'm not ruling anything out from that French team just yet. Now, the Portugal-Slovenia game, my word, that was a very, very dull game to watch. 120 plus minutes, which won't quite get back. not enough sort of really created between the two. I mean, you sort of get the odd free kick, which Ronaldo seems to almost sort of control that team, being the person that he is, taking every single set piece, whether it's from 40 yards, whether it's at a silly angle to have a shot on goal. It's ridiculous. I think that could end up biting them in the backside. The over-reliance on him, or the fear they almost have to have him be the one that needs to do everything. He needs to get in his head that he's not the one that needs to do everything. There's a lot of quality in that squad. And I think without Ronaldo, potentially, they might flourish. That he needs to almost relinquish some of his power. Obviously, he was very unlucky with the penalty. It was a very good save against a very good keeper. Helping him to penalty shootout, the Portuguese keeper Diego Costa was brilliant. I mean, you can argue some of those penalties might not have been the best or the most well placed, but they had to be saved, and he saved everything in front of him. So you can't ask more than that from the keeper. And then we've got the Romania-Netherlands game, probably one of the games that I saw the least of, and the next day. However, the Netherlands' quality unfortunately overshadowed the Romanians. My sweepstake team is out. Not necessarily any thanks to Dragoshin, the Romanian centre-back, plays for Tottenham, just sort of having a bit of a lapse in judgment, should we say. And so the Netherlands eventually sort of made the game look a lot, sort of very comfortable towards the end of it. And the final game, we've got Austria-Turkey. And this is my other game, which I got wrong. This game was very close, however, so I'd like to think, it wasn't too bad a shout. However, the Turkey seemed to have the quality of the centre-back, Demiral scoring both the goals. Austria, in their defence, made a comeback of it, made a fight of it towards the end. So it only took some ridiculous goalkeeping to keep it at the score that it was. Turkey obviously going through the traditional dark horses, probably one of the furthest I've seen them get in a tournament in a while. So, I mean, I'd still say out of the teams there, they'd still look one of the weaker ones, but they've still got quality throughout the spine of that team with Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Demiral. You've got sort of almost wild card and Arda Güler, who can turn it on and sort of create something out of nothing, as it were. And you've got players like that, still always half a chance of them doing well. Now they've gone over those games, let's get into the big one, the England game. Having gone to the game in the pub, it was... towards the end of it, I was ecstatic and loving it, but my word, it was not a good game by England by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of the players had some bad individual performances, and looking at Kyle Walker, who's most sort of considered very defensively reliable, getting beaten along the wings several times. John Stones was positioning one of his weaker games in England. For the England team, particularly in tournament football, is usually very reliable, and didn't sort of see too much going forward at the moment there. And I think we got fortunate by a player who seems to just be a big moments player in Bellingham, because he steps up in big moments. He's been doing that for Real Madrid a lot this last season. Sort of almost a clutch player. I'd like to think that we're going to be a bit better than that going forward. I think some of the substitutions helped towards the end. Sort of people like Ivan Toney offering a physical presence, sort of Tottenham getting assists, and could have potentially got a third goal as well in extra time. But something obviously isn't quite right. And this is going to go over to a particular point which I wanted to sort of stress. A lot of fans criticise Gareth Southgate. I myself think he's not immune from blame, but he's not the entire problem, as it were. I think it's very much split between him and the players. You don't tell a team to sit back and make mistakes and get beaten and ignore the offside traps or anything like that. So I think there is blame to Southgate for his inability to change tactics when you can see the game changing. However, he can't be held to blame for poor individual performances. I think some of those players need to take some more accountability for themselves going forwards. It's a team game. You need to, when you sort of as strong as our weakest link here, and sort of looking like there's a lot of weak links at the moment. So potentially just need to have a sit down and just sort of just work things out and sort of work out what's made these players good. What can you do well? Let's play to strengths. Now this is where, when I say play to strengths, is also the slight dig at Gareth Southgate in himself, is the fact that a big issue which he's not had to deal with in other tournaments is he's trying to put as many of the quality players into the team. It's not, you need to fit a system, you need to work a system. You can't just sort of throw all the good players in and expect everything to suddenly work. I mean, we've got 3 right backs in that first game, because we know right backs are a good position for us. They've got quality there, but you've got Trippier, Walker and Trent all in the team. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to have all of them in the team. You might need to have 1 or 2. The same way that you've got Phil Foden out left. He's a quality player, but that's not his position. He's not a winger. He is a 10. And so I think there's going to have to be some serious sort of changes, and potentially looking at playing to what did we do so well at the previous tournaments. You argue at Russia, our strength was from some set plays. There was the tactic called the sort of the love train, as it were, where every player sort of lines up towards the start of the sort of run up to the corner and splits, confuses the defenders, don't know what to do, and we scored from those. And then on top of that, we're also built on a very strong, reliable defence. And obviously it's changed. It's going to change again with Mark Gehi missing for the next game. However, we need to sort of get back to that sort of solid base. You need to then have a look at potentially for the next game. Okay, if we can organise our defence. I believe the midfield balance is about right. I believe he's got it right with Mainu finally. However, I don't know whether there are potential solutions to any of these problems. Whether you drop in Jude Bellingham into the sort of a lot deeper, bring Foden into the middle. All I know is Foden can't start out on that left again. He's not done near enough to warrant a starting place, regardless of how well he's done for Manchester City. Maybe he can find a space in the team. Maybe he can be an impact player off the bench, but he shouldn't be starting. My next controversial decision might be looking at Bukayo Saka. Now, he's a quality player, and he looked very good in the opening game, but hasn't done enough. And it might be time to give another attacking player like Palmer a chance out on that wing. If Palmer starts, does a bit naff, then you've got a fresh Saka to run at a tight defence. So I can only see that as a win-win in my situation. Kane's someone that I'd also potentially look at and worry about. He doesn't seem fully fit going into this. Tournament, and so you might need to look at potentially sort of bringing him off earlier or partnering up with someone, but something there's not right and it needs to change. But that's my go over of the England game. So with that, I can slide into the predictions. Considering I focused heavily on England, I firmly believe if we make some of these changes against Switzerland, we have a chance, and it would be a narrow game. And I think if we make changes, 1 or 2 players, I'd maybe see a 2-1 win, because I don't want to underestimate that Switzerland team. However, if the team set up the same, plays the same manner, don't adapt to the changes within the game, I could easily see Switzerland winning that 1-2-0, So unless changes are made, that's Switzerland's game. If changes are made, it's England's. Otherwise, it's going to be a very close game. A lot closer than people would like to admit. I'd like to be more biased towards the England team, but I'm trying to look at it from a very logical standpoint. Now, the other predictions. So, we've got Spain and Germany, which is easily the juiciest out of the lot. Sort of the form teams going into this. This one is the trickiest to call out of all of them. I think I'd back Spain for this one over Germany. I think the Germans obviously have their home backing and have some very good players, but I think the balance within that Spanish team is just right. I think they were unlucky not to go further in the previous Euros against Italy in the semis, but I think that team is just almost perfect, and I just think Germany, there have been cracks in their armour sort of from their games against Switzerland in the group stage, so that they can be got at. I think the Spain team, as long as it's switched on, doesn't leave themselves too vulnerable to the counter, they could do very well there. The other game on that day would be Portugal-France. Now, Portugal-France, it's not a close game. However, I do believe France will take it. It will be close. I could see a 1-0 France again. I don't think they're sort of fully firing just yet, but I think there's obviously quality in that Portugal team. And I think when it comes to Portugal, I firmly believe that when it comes to set plays and free kicks, they need to be giving that power over to other players, the Bruno Fernandez's, the Rafa Leao's, the Bernardo Silva's, to do something different. You can predict what's going to happen if Ronaldo takes a free kick. He's going to take a shot. 90% of his free kicks never hit the target. I mean, if they do, then fair enough, they've got a chance going in, but they really don't. And I've got a feeling, I mean, this might be the time where Mbappe decides to sort of wake up a bit in front of his idol, sort of Cristiano Ronaldo. He want to prove himself a bit, so I firmly believe, yes, it'll be France 1-0, Mbappe probably the goal scorer. And the final prediction would be Netherlands-Turkey. Netherlands, as I mentioned, or sorry, Turkey, as I mentioned previously, I still think they're very fortunate to be in the position that they're in, potentially down to how the draw has been done. They did very well against Austria. However, I just think the star quality in the Netherlands team is going to be too much. They've clearly shown they've got a lot going forward. I worry about Netherlands defensively, but I think they've got enough to cause damage to the Turkish team. And so I'm predicting probably like a Netherlands 3-1, realistically. But yeah, I think that's sort of going to be a good roundup of the game. So let me know what you think in your predictions in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. We want to build up those subscribers. Thank you very much. I'll see you all again soon.